As we were walking up the hill back towards the house, my wife and I were talking about and reminiscing about high school and what we would do if we do things differently and how we looked at that. And we were on a nice walk with Murphy, our dog, and getting back close to home. It was a fun conversation. We came back into the house and we were still continuing on the conversation for a bit, standing in the kitchen. And we'd already eaten dinner and fed the dog earlier, and so this was just our evening walk out with Murphy and part of our schedule. When my wife was telling me some more struggles she's had with family and stuff like that, and some more introspective things, and I was having trouble hearing her. Not hearing in the sense, but I mean, focusing on what she was saying. I was like hitting a wall, and I just wanted her to stop talking. Not that I was tired of my wife talking. I'm never that way. I mean, not mostly. It's just, I was just getting irritated and stressed. And she was sharing some more details that I really should be in tune with and should be paying attention. And then she was sharing some other things. And then we talked about something different. And I just could not focus, and I just could not pay attention. And I just was struggling. And I was having some pain, and it wasn't until maybe 10 minutes later or whatever, till finally I had to tell her I needed to go just get away for a bit. And I didn't want to hurt her feelings, but I just needed some space and to walk away. And I went and just laid down for a minute, and then I realized I was in the middle of an anxiety attack. I don't think I've had an all-out anxiety attack in a long time, but this was definitely one of them. And I thought I'd talk to you about it a bit. So welcome to Uneven. It is 10:06 p.m. and I'm lying in bed. That does seem to be the place where we chat more than not, and even though I do have a feeling this might be a somewhat sleepless night for me, that's not what the content of this or the topic is for today's episode. Instead of ruminating throughout a sleepless night, I thought maybe I'd chat with you what I'm going through right now, which is an anxiety attack. It had been a while since I've had an all-out attack like that. And now, just to clarify a little bit, I kind of differentiate with things I've experienced and with people I've worked with between anxiety attacks and panic attacks. And maybe different people will have different definitions. For me, anxiety attacks is when just the anxiety wells up in you and you're having trouble focusing, doing anything else. It's just intense. It's like the stress. It's like you've been on 10 cups of coffee and just drank another 10, and maybe you're about to break down and cry. Maybe you're about to yell at somebody. Maybe you're about to hit something. Maybe you just the tension is overwhelming. Panic attacks, in my mind, takes that an extra step to where you almost can't breathe, and your respiratory system is affected, and your heart rate is just going through the roof. And that, to me, is an all-out panic attack where you just think you're dying, when you think you might actually be dying. That, to me, is a panic attack. An anxiety attack is, I know I'm okay, but man, just the system is going into overdrive. And that was tonight. And it's strange because I haven't had one in a long time. Maybe a few years since I've had an all-out anxiety attack. I don't know, maybe I've had one in between there. I wouldn't be surprised if I had one on that road trip coming back from Florida a couple years ago. But regardless, it surprises me, and I really couldn't, I don't know about you all, when you have times like that, I couldn't deconstruct it very well. I was going back trying to figure out what is unique that set it off. And I haven't figured that out yet. And I'm still partially in it. It may be right now about 50% of what it was an hour ago. It's come down some now. Because I was so worked up, I'm sleeping in one bed. My wife's in the other room right now, so I can chat with you. It's just me, and Murphy's up here with me, hanging out, keeping me company. But I knew probably wasn't going to sleep right away, and because my akathisia kicked in, of course, at the end of it, and so now I got that going on. I'm still pretty tense, and I still have some elevated stress and elevated cortisol and everything rushing through me and stuff. But I thought I'd talk to you about it a little bit and share with you. And I know many of you experience these disease more commonly and more frequently than I do. I've had them in the past. I've even had a couple panic attacks in the past. Those have been rare in my life. I don't normally suffer from panic attacks. I know some of you do. Anxiety attacks, I get those infrequently, but they do happen. More the milder version, this was a stronger one, and it's not typical for me, but still don't really know where it came from. I analyzed what I had for dinner, and I had a little salmon with some crackers and cream cheese and piece of Italian bread with a little butter on it. I think some blueberries and bananas, and it was a pretty good meal and pretty healthy meal. I had part of a Gatorade and even had a little bit of chocolate afterwards, but those things don't usually set me off. That's not uncommon for me. And then we went for a walk, and I don't think of anything on the walk that really set me off. We were talking about family a little bit, and our mothers a little bit, and high school a little bit, but I don't know that my mind went any place stressful. I took my vitamins at lunch today, and in addition to my ALA, my alpha-lipoic acid, and I have started a new brand of that, but it's the same base ingredients, and can't think that might have caused it. I started that a couple days ago. It's possible, but think about other things that happened today, and had a really full day. Thursdays are full. I worked 2 sessions this morning on our uneven community. I did a meditation session with the group. Had a really good meditation. It went really well, I think, and people seemed to enjoy that, and then moved into more of a social event. We have a weekly event called the Lunch Hour, where we were just kind of talking about what things are on our plate, and sometimes it's related to benzos and meds or anxiety, whatever, and sometimes it's just more general place for us to socialize and talk about things. But that went really well. Of course, shameless plug really quickly, please check out our community if you'd like to come see us. We're at uneven.life. We'd love to have you come check us out. That went well. I had lunch with my wife, and lunch wasn't all that abnormal, and I don't remember what I had for lunch. It was something. And then jumped into a work meeting, and had a meeting with my team for a couple hours. Went pretty well. We went through the tasks we had, the stuff we're working on, and then I ran to the store to pick up a couple groceries, and came back and filled up the tank with gas. I have trouble finding a cause. I know I'm not the only person that does that, but I really don't know. But when this kicked in, like I said, I was really having trouble focusing, and I was having trouble paying attention, and I just wanted, no offense to my wife, I just wanted her to stop talking. I couldn't deal with what she was talking about. I was just shutting down, and this isn't quite like me. And it just, everything wasn't working. I was getting irritated. I was, things were happening. I was getting uncomfortable, and I could start to feel kind of the stress kind of moving up through my neck and throat and stuff a little bit, and just starting to tense up and everything. And like right now, I got this buzzing in the bottom of my foot. Oh, it's just a whole bunch of things kicked in. I went and laid down for about 10, 15 minutes trying just to back away, but it just kept increasing. And that's when I started to realize I was having an anxiety attack. And I started to feel my heartbeat more. I was getting some random nerve pain, and that escalated, and I was getting, my tinnitus was really kicking in, and it was in my right ear, and that was getting stronger. And my facial paresthesia, which is the spiders I have on my face, and I have those typically on the left side of my face. Used to have it, but it stopped a couple of years ago, but that came back, and I got up and I moved around, and I came back out, and my wife asked how I was doing, and I told her I did have an anxiety attack, and she asked if she could help, and I was just walking around. I said, no, I just gotta figure a way through this and work through it. And so I kept walking around because akathisia was kicking in, and I couldn't sit down, and so I just had to keep moving. And then my skin was starting to feel like it was burning, and experienced that one before, and it's not severe, but it was somewhat painful, more just annoying. But and that was kicking in. It was almost like I had a third-degree sunburn, and just that prickly, that feeling like you have this really bad sunburn on your skin, and that was kicking in, and I was getting, little buzzings, and just, a lot of random symptoms were just on fire, and I could tell my system is reacting to something. I don't know if it was a food or a drink or a thought or an event. I really haven't figured that out yet. Maybe I'll record another episode once I do. But at least at the beginning of this one right here, I don't know. But I'll tell you the good news. The good woos. The good news is I knew pretty soon what was going on. Once I excused myself and laid down and felt it, I knew it was an anxiety attack. And once you identify it, and once you identify it as something you've experienced before, and once you've identified that there are ways through this, it lessens, it eases up a bit, it backs off a bit. And this did start to, it kept ramping up for a bit after I realized that, but it peaked within the next 30 minutes to an hour after that, and then started coming down, and it's continuing to come down, and I'm hoping I'll be able to sleep here in a little bit. But I know so many of you deal with this too, in all its variations. Some are like what I go through, and some are completely different. Some of you have anxiety attacks and have panic attacks. And I get it. Sometimes the world is just overwhelming. And our body can't handle it. Our minds can't handle it. And it goes a bit haywire. Is haywire a word? Haywire? Haywire. That's what I was looking for. It goes a bit haywire. And your cognitive function can be affected, as you noticed. And you may not pull some words out. The words you're looking for may be hard to find. And right now I still have 5 or 6 different symptoms kicking in at random and reminding me I'm still in this. And my emotions are high, and I could probably break out and release those at any moment. But maybe I will. Maybe I will, because that is a release sometimes, and that helps me to readjust a bit. So I'm curious if you've experienced these anxiety attacks and what they're like for you. Please share that if you want to in the comments here on the video or on our post or our site. I'd love to hear from you, and just let me know do you experience anxiety attacks and what they're like, and what do you do currently to work through them? How you process them and how you come out the other side and try to get back to a more normal, more stable mindset. I'd be curious. For me, I know I just have to let it play out a little bit. I don't fight it. I deal with the symptoms as they come. Sometimes it means moving, sometimes it means stretching, sometimes it means pacing. Sometimes it means putting my hand on my face so my paresthesia doesn't kick in. I was talking about that. It's ironic. I was talking about my paresthesia in one of our sessions this morning, and here it suddenly kicks in again, and I pretty much haven't experienced it much for a year or two, but I guess it's still there a little bit, and we'll show up now and then when I least expect it. That's okay. The main thing is, and this is something else we were talking in one of our sessions earlier today, is that I accepted what was going on. My familiarity to an anxiety attack was helpful. I've been here before, and that can go a long way in reducing your fear about something. And I knew a few things I could do to help process it, like let it happen, deal with the symptoms, and let it pass. Yeah. So I'm going to try to get some sleep. I'm going to pet my dog here for a minute, roll over. And see if maybe the night will pull me in. If you hear from me again, it means I may not have been successful, and we're chatting again. If you don't hear from me again, then I probably had success. And that's a good thing. That's always a good thing. If nothing else, it's to remind you all that this is just a symptom. It's just a wave. It's just an inconvenience, even if it is a significant one. And it will pass. It will pass. Well, the good news is I did get to sleep. That is good news. I slept pretty well last night and woke up not with the anxiety attack. A little bit of anxiety, but who doesn't wake up with some? Some of us get that cortisol rush in the morning that kicks in. And we wake up with more anxiety, plus we have time often in the morning to think about things and to start that ruminating process that can be so damn enjoyable, he says sarcastically. It is now several days past, I guess a few days, several days, something, when I recorded that first part. I got busy, as I often do, doing things in uneven, doing things with work, doing things with my family, and just got busy doing other stuff. But I wanted to come back and close this one out and leave you with some tips and some tricks and maybe some positive messages about these anxiety attacks and just stay on topic and see if we can wrap this up and then I can edit it and get it out to you maybe this afternoon. And that's my goal. So let's see what we can do. I did pull up a little research. I thought I'd just check it out really quickly. Most of all these I knew about, but I wanted to pull up a resource anyway. I pulled up Calm, which is one of the apps on phones. I've used Calm before, and I've used some other ones. There's some other ones too I know that are really good. I think people use Headspace, Insight Timer, and some other ones, and I'm going to try out different ones as I go along. I've sampled different ones, but actually this is on their website on calm.com, and they had 10 effective strategies for dealing with anxiety attacks, and I wanted to share them with you really quickly, just highlight them. Please go check out the actual article if you get a chance, and I will leave a link to you all within the show notes, and you can go click on this link yourself directly. And one of the first ones that people typically suggest is breathing exercises are really surprisingly effective for these types of onsets of deep anxiety, stress, overwhelm, these sensations, because we often start to shorten our breath the more excited, the more stressed we get. And when we can focus on our breathing and slow it down and do some deep breathing exercises, that can make a big difference. And that can at least be that initial, it's often one of the best first responses to this type of event is breathing exercises. It allows you to reset a little bit and maybe focus on some more long-term management strategies, but it helps to pull you back a little bit, and that's what's important. Number 2 on their list is progressive relaxation, progressive muscle relaxation. We actually do this a lot here at Uneven. I lead a meditation group on Thursday mornings, and within that group, I think I've almost always included some form of progressive muscle relaxation, and it's basically scanning over your body, relaxing your muscles one area at a time. And that can really help to find stress and find tension in your body and then ease that tension. And that can be really useful. Visualization is another really good technique. And you can close your eyes, you can visualize a peaceful place, the mountain stream, the beach, at home by your fire, wherever it is that you find peace and that you find calm. And just kind of see, there's a word missing. Transition yourself into that location for a while and let your body and your mind calm down while you're there. And then you can ease yourself back into reality when you're done. But that can be quite effective just to take you away from the stress for a little while. Number 4 on their list is take a bath. And that actually water can sometimes have a very calming effect and also feels like an escape from where you were, and that it can take you away. And actually for people who are struggling, like many of us who have come off these medications and benzos and such, sometimes we have the muscle pain and muscle nerve pain and nerve issues and stuff. And I often do an Epsom salt bath, and I did that a lot when I was coming off of Klonopin. And that can also help to feed a little bit of magnesium topically into your body, and it helps to relax the muscles and calm the muscles down. But just the hot water, the bath, the soaking, and also the isolation that a bath can give you, which is it pulls you out of the world around you, the chaos around you, gives you a little bit of peace just to calm down a bit. I take baths. I'm not ashamed to say so. I don't do it regularly. Honestly, I just don't do it that often, more because of time. I shower every morning, thankfully. I don't say usually. I shower pretty much every morning. But in the evening to take the bath, it's usually when I need to. I really enjoy them, but I don't do them much anymore unless, of course, I need that type of relaxation or also just something to help me sleep. And sometimes when I get insomnia, that bath can help, but it can help calm you. There are also grounding techniques, and we practice the grounding technique, the 5-4-3-2-1 technique here in our Uneven community several times. And it's basically identifying things around you. It's bringing you in touch with the reality and the world around you, but it's pulling you out of the ruminations and the worries in your head and instead bring your focus into noticing what's around you. And it starts with 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And it's all about the sensations, and those sensations pulling you out of that looping mind, and that can help to alleviate some of that anxiety attack you might have. And number 6 is just music, good soothing music or soothing sounds. Maybe the ocean waves, maybe a gurgling brook, or maybe some music that you have that's geared towards relaxation, usually soft, instrumental kind of music, maybe smooth jazz or concert music, or there are some different meditation music you can listen to that have just the right frequencies that supposedly can help calm you. So those are things that can be beneficial too. Number 7 on their list is to walk it off. Walking is the one thing when I came off of benzodiazepines that I must admit, I made sure I did not give up. I had a dog for most of that time, and walking the dog was something I needed to do, but it also was a godsend to me. Just getting out and walking, even and especially on the days when I really didn't want to, or the times when I really didn't want to, but it forced me. It forced me to get out and do things. In fact, I made a deal with my wife not too long ago again, and we've done this before, but now that it's summer and we have longer evenings and after dinner, basically the rule is if somebody mentions to go for a walk, the other person can't say no. And it's kind of a way, it's sometimes you've been dreading the other person saying the walk, but once you get out, you always feel better. And I'm always grateful that my wife mentioned it, or she's grateful that I mentioned it, but we get out and do that walk. And that does seem to be very helpful. But just the exercise, there's so many pieces to walking, being in nature, the physical activity. There's so many benefits to it that it's just really hard to turn that one down as an option. When we get really stressed sometimes, we also sometimes need to vent. I mean, that's honestly the truth. We sometimes just need to vent and to share with somebody what we're going through. Reach out to a friend or family member, maybe that you trust, and put your feelings into words. Talk about what you're going through. You might even tell them, I think I'm having an anxiety attack. I think I'm having, a mental health difficulty or whatever. But then tell them what it is and walk through what's going on in your mind, the experiences. Sometimes that processing method can help you to calm down. Just having somebody to share it with, and to just to vent to, and to let it out. Speaking the words of what you're going through, it sometimes takes the burden off yourself and lets it be free, letting it just fly away like a cloud in the sky. That's kind of nice to be able to do. Number 9, of course, is just avoiding things that might set you off more, like coffee, like caffeinated beverages, a lot of different things, that can set you off. But of course, caffeine's one of the big ones. Sugar is a big one. Things we ingest that might make things worse. It's good to avoid those things and be careful about it because they can heighten you up. So just be cautious about that. And honestly, this is another one that gets debated a lot, but number 10 on this list is distraction. Distraction is one of those things that I said is somewhat controversial or somewhat give and take, because I think people often look to things as absolutes. And I think that's the wrong way to look at it. Distraction is not absolutely good or bad. It depends on how you use it and when you use it. Distraction to pull yourself out of an attack scenario, like an anxiety attack or a panic attack or really severe distress. That can be really beneficial because it can pull you out and it can allow you time for your body and mind to reset, calm down a little bit, and reanalyze the problem from a more centered standpoint, more centered mindset. But when you use distraction all the time, it can also become a crutch, and it can also prevent us from facing reality, from exploring the world, from actually working through our issues. And while this is not on this list, it brings me back to the primary one that I think is still the best method for dealing with anxiety attacks, for dealing with anxiety as a whole, for dealing with all these negative feelings and ruminations and looping thoughts. And all those things that keep you up at night and keep you stressed during the day. And that is letting it be, accepting it. When you get those things, say to yourself, I'm having an anxiety attack. But say it to yourself without emotional pretense, meaning don't say it like, oh my God, I'm having an anxiety attack. Say it to yourself as if, oh, I think I'm having an anxiety attack. How you approach this matters so much because you can notice it and you can then pull some of your tools from your tool belt that we talk about so often here, just like these 10 tools that we just mentioned to you from this article from Calm. And you can pull some of those out and help manage it. But when you panic, when you approach a concept like an anxiety attack from a place of more anxiety, we are heightening ourselves and we're making the situation worse. And that's not beneficial. It's just an anxiety attack. That's all it is. It's not going to kill you. It's not even really going to hurt you. It's going to make you feel uncomfortable for a little while. Acknowledge it. Process it a little bit. Maybe think about for a minute or two where it came from or what might be causing it. Maybe excuse yourself to a place that you can be more calm, that you can rest for a little bit, that you can let it work through things, that you can let yourself work through maybe what led to it. But then the third step is let it pass. Acknowledge it, process it, and let it pass. The let it pass is an important point, and it's not always easy to do, and I know that, but it's a skill to practice, and it's a skill that is extremely beneficial. And it's a skill that I used when I had my anxiety attack at the beginning of this. I acknowledged it was going on. I was getting short with my wife. I was getting stressed. Everything was pissing me off. Everything was aggravating me. Everything was bothering me. I was heightened. I just couldn't get comfortable. All these things were kicking in. And I excused myself. And I went to the bedroom and I lied down for a while, just allowing my body and my mind to kind of reset. But I didn't run away from it. Like I said, distraction can be helpful sometimes, and sometimes you need that. But in the end, the long-term goal for most of these, when we are strong enough to do this, is to accept it. To see it, notice it, process it, and let it pass. Don't cling to it. Just let it go on, and it will pass. It will pass. It sucks. It sucks we have to deal with this. It really does. That's the one thing I talk about on this is me, warts and all, the bullshit we deal with, the crap that hits us, it's not fair, it's not right, and there's my text on my phone. Sorry for that. I have a train whistle. It's the sound of the text on my phone. I'm not looking at it. I'll look at it later. But it just went off, and I'm just acknowledging it. Again, I'm just acknowledging it. I know there's a text I'll get to later, and I'm going to let it pass. Okay, may not be exactly the same, but it's the generalized idea here. And now that I got pulled out of my thought pattern, there I go again of having trouble getting back to how I was closing this. But here's the thing. Life is hard. And for those of us who deal with anxiety, benzo withdrawal, bind, other medication withdrawal, whatever it is that's complicating your life, severe anxiety, depression, whatever it is that's making it harder than maybe what the average person deals with, life can really suck. And there goes my text again. Sorry about that. But I'm just going to let it play in because, see, I love that. I love that because that is life. I know this sounds like I'm really feeling this is profound, and maybe you're not sensing that, and that's okay. But to me, that really was great timing because that's life. we get those train whistles. And by train whistles, of course, I'm meaning interruptions. Interruptions of all kind in life, aggravations, irritations, no matter where it's coming from, family, friends, work, news, outside, inside, neighbors, wherever it is, we have interruptions and irritations in our life. We got to learn to deal with them. It's just part of life. But if you have some good tools, if you have some good processes to work through, they're not that big of a deal. They don't have to be. That anxiety attack I hadn't had one in a couple years, I think, of that level. I get heightened anxiety. That's not uncommon. But I wouldn't take it to the attack level. Haven't had that for a long time. I used to get those first coming off of Klonopin, but I haven't had that in a long time. But I didn't panic. Once I noticed what it was, I just told my wife I needed to be alone for a while. I think I did that. Isn't that what I did? I don't know. Like I said, it's been a week or several days ago. You know what it was, and that will come back to it. But I know I separated myself from the situation, and I know I went and laid down. And I let it kind of work itself out. And that was a smart thing for me to do. In the end, I still went to bed, and there goes the phone again. Somebody's really trying to reach me. But you know what? In fact, right now, here we go. I just turned over my phone. I don't have to live that way. I don't have to respond to that. Yes, I can mute my phone right now. I know that. But I'm not. Because I think it's good. It's good for us to talk about this, and it's good content for the podcast. But I could let that just pull me away. But I'll get to that later. It's just somebody texting me. Somebody may be sending some funny memes, or, my wife's trying to let me know about something, or some friends reach, whatever it is. I can manage that here in 10 minutes once I get off this podcast, or 5 or whatever. I don't have to let every little thing that happens in my life pull me in different directions. It's one of the things we do. It's one of the things I do. But I do try to not let that happen. We're being yanked in so many different directions, and sometimes it's okay to say, let me finish this first. I'll get to that in a little bit. And that's when it comes back to anxiety. Because if you don't do that, you wind up with an anxiety attack. You wind up with a panic. And that's not good. But you can process it, you can work through it, and you can come out the other side feeling just fine, as I did. I got a good night's sleep, got through the next day, and I'm doing all right. In fact, I just went to work and kept working the last few days and finally realized I need to finish this podcast because I liked the way it started and I wanted to come back to it. So I did a very brief research, found a website from Calm here to cover some top 10 things. All these things I have done before, but I just thought it'd be nice to have something listed so it would pull my brain and keep me a little more organized. As you know, I sometimes lose my train of thought. I sometimes get that brain cramp, and I sometimes just lose my place. So it is nice sometimes to have a list to feed off of. But I'm going to wrap this up right now. And I'm going to let you know that I wish you well. As I said before, this sucks. It's bullshit. It's nasty. It's living with anxiety, with medication withdrawal, with bind, with whatever it is you're going through. It sucks. But we don't have to let it control everything. We can manage it. We can have tools and we can have systems. We can have processes that help us deal with it and not let it take us over. When you get that anxiety rushing through you and that attack happening, you can say, okay, you're an anxiety attack. What are you trying to tell me? Okay, I hear you. And then let it pass. Not saying it's always easy, and I'm not saying something I can do every single time, because it surely isn't. But boy, when I do, like I did the other night, my life gets back to normal a lot faster. Anyway, I'm going to close this out. I thank you all for listening. I am so glad you are here. I hope this was a useful episode. I thought, hey, I'm in the middle of an anxiety attack. Let's record this puppy. And that's what we did. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. And don't forget to check us out at uneven.life. Come check us out. We would love to see you. We have amazing group sessions, incredible members here, and it's just a community of people who are compassionate and caring of one another and helping each other out through life's difficulties. So we'd love to have you come check us out and see what we do here. Y'all take care. I'll talk to you soon. Bye now. Hey, this is Dee. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out our podcast. I do need to remind everyone that this podcast is for informational purposes only and should never be considered medical, psychological, or professional health advice of any kind. If you or someone you know is dealing with significant mental health issues, please seek professional help. Resources can be found in our show notes and on our website at unevenpodcast.com. Take care of yourself, and I'll catch you on the flip side.